Hey folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am happy that you're with us today. What we're going to talk about today, really an important show, and the title doesn't sound that important, is increasing your happy hormones, the neurotransmitters, not really hormones, the neurotransmitters, increasing the chemicals in your brain that make you happy. Now, I don't know of anyone who wouldn't want to be more happy because life is, there's a great song by my friend Cy Timmons. It says, life went on with good and bad and lots of in-betweens. And many times life is a good, a bad, and lots of in-betweens. But if we can take that in-between time and boost it a little bit and make yourself a little happier, that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's mainly due to one neurotransmitter. And that neurotransmitter, which is a chemical in your brain that makes you feel things and think things, is called dopamine. Now, dopamine is an important chemical messenger. It's involved with reward, motivation, memory, attention, regulates body movements. It does a lot of things. But dopamine is important. It's released in large amounts. If it's released in large amounts, it creates feelings of pleasure, reward. It motivates you. If it's released in too large amounts, it becomes a problem. And that's what certain drugs do, especially street drugs. They'll release, it's a dopamine dump. You create all this dopamine, your body absorbs it, and you are just euphoric. Ecstasy is one of those things. And you are just euphoric and life is great and you want to hug and kiss everybody. But then what happens is you use up all the dopamine and you crash. And then the brain says, I want dopamine. I want pleasure. And so that's where addictions come from. You have so much dopamine, you crash, you want more and more and more. That becomes an issue. And what happens is if you have too much dopamine, your brain does something called downregulate. Let me explain that to you. You release a little dopamine in your brain absorbs it, you feel good. A lot of dopamine, the brain says, wait a minute, that's too much. Something's wrong. I'm going to stop absorbing it. So it downregulates the ability to absorb it. And then what happens is you never get that high again. In the drug world, they call it chasing the dragon. You got that first high, it was never going to be like that again, and you'll spend the rest of your life and all your money and sometimes kill yourself trying to get that high again. So too much dopamine dump, is dangerous because the brain downregulates. The good news is that you can reboot it. The brain is able to go, okay, I had this rush, I crashed, now let's gently coerce it, massage it back into place, and the brain can heal. That's the neat part about brain issues. The brain has a capacity called plasticity. And plasticity is like plastic. It can bend and mold and change its shape. Your brain can actually change its shape depending on what you feed it, what you have inputted into it. So that's exercise, oxygen, nutrition. Chiropractic care opens up the nerve supply and helps the brain work better. Digestion. So there's genetics involved with your brain. And there's also something called epigenetics. Now, epigenetics, Bruce Lipton taught me all this a while ago, and he talked about epigenetics, that it's the environment, it's your food, it's your thought process, it's the people you surround yourself with. Genetics are locked in. It's in your DNA. You can alter that. But epigenetics is everything else. Meditation has an effect from an epigenetic standpoint. So we're going to talk about the things that you can do from an epigenetic standpoint to get the brain to work better, to make you happier. And I love this lecture. It's one of my favorites because it's exciting that you have control over how your brain works. Not always. There's some things that are out of your control, but we're going to teach you that. One thing that I've seen as a recommendation is eat a lot of protein. Well, that's not necessarily a good idea. You have to eat quality protein. And the reason is protein is made up of something called amino acids. So you take these 22 amino acids that are out there, and they're changed. Some say 20, some say 22. I'll go with 22. And a protein is broken down into these amino acids. Then these amino acids are restructured, and they create eye tissue or blood or toenail or neurotransmitters or hair. And so everything is made up of these 20 or 22 amino acids, depending how you look at it. Your body can make some of them. Some of them you have to get. They're called essential amino acids. If the word essential is in front of a word like essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, that means you have to get it from an outside source. if it's non-essential, it can take other food, remodel it, and make it into these fats or proteins. One amino acid called tyrosine is particularly important in the production of dopamine. Again, dopamine is the chemical in your brain that gives you pleasure. Enzymes in your body turn tyrosine into dopamine. So making sure you have enough tyrosine is important, and making sure you have enough enzymes to convert the tyrosine into dopamine, also important. See what's all tying together here? Tyrosine can also be made from phenylalanine. So once again, it's not an essential amino acid. You need it, but you can get it, you can make it yourself if you have phenylalanine, which is another amino acid. So 3 words so far. Dopamine, the one we're talking about, the pleasure chemical in your brain. Tyrosine, which is the amino acid that becomes dopamine. And phenylalanine can become tyrosine, which can become dopamine. Did you follow all that? Hope I didn't lose you. Found in foods. Tyrosine and phenylalanine can be found where? Beans, nuts, seeds, legumes. So as long as you're eating a good, healthy plant-based diet and you're getting lots of variety in your plant-based diet, you're getting enough tyrosine and phenylalanine. Now, it's also found in things like turkey and beef and eggs and dairy, but the downside of eating those far outweigh any possible small benefit you might get from eating them. So that's why you don't have to worry. There's nothing that you're lacking in a plant-based diet that you would be getting in a meat-based diet. The only thing, well, I can't say nothing, one thing, vitamin B12. I take a vitamin B12 supplement every day. Most meat eaters should take a B12 supplement because as you get older, you don't absorb it like you used to. Your stomach has something in it called intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor allows you to absorb vitamin B12 in your stomach, and then it gets utilized throughout the body. And B12 gives you energy, makes your brain work better. It's really important. As we get older, no matter who you are, your intrinsic factor levels drop. Even if you're eating a plant-based healthy diet, getting chiropractic care, keeping your nervous system healthy, it's part of the aging process. The nice part is that all you have to do is take a very, very inexpensive, literally pennies a day supplement to solve that problem. And that's why we put vitamin B12 in 2 places. Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which, by the way, everybody should be taking anyway. That's like the granddaddy of all supplements. And I put it in Dr. Joe's B-Complex. Those supplements, along with a bunch of others, are on the website, drjoe.com. If you have any questions, you can always send me questions through the website, drjoe.com. But B12 is the only thing you're missing if you're not eating meat. Now, if you're eating a typical American diet, the standard American diet, or the SAD diet, SAD, the standard American diet, you're lacking a lot of other nutrients and fiber and phytonutrients and omega-3s many times because you cook the omega-3s out of your foods. And so, yeah, it's important that you eat a plant-based diet and you're going to get all the nutrients you need. I was at a party the other night, and of course, the first question that came up was what? Where do you get your protein? I just got to hand little cards out, that say, don't worry about it. I've never seen a plant-based person ever die of protein deficiency. Your body only needs about 10%, 8% really, of its total intake as protein. A carrot is 6%. So if you're eating fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, you're getting way more protein than you even need. Most standard American diet eaters get 2, 3, sometimes 4 times the amount of protein that they need. And that excess protein has to be broken down and passed out. Major stress on your kidneys, major stress on your liver, major stress on your digestive system. Too much is a bad thing. And so a high-protein diet I'm not a big fan of because of those reasons. Studies show that increasing the amount of tyrosine and phenylalanine in your diet can increase dopamine levels in your brain, which promote deep thinking, improved memory, satisfaction, pleasure, no downside. Dopamine is so important. It's one of the 4 major neurotransmitters in your brain. But if you take out phenylalanine and tyrosine, because remember, phenylalanine becomes tyrosine, tyrosine can become dopamine. If you take it out, the dopamine levels will become depleted. And that's when many times you're reaching for something to stimulate that dopamine release. And that's where drugs come in, illegal drugs. And so this is another thing that I see when people are addicted to drugs or alcohol, whatever it is. They'll come to me and say, Dr. Joe, I got to beat my addiction. How do I do it? And I say, you got to nourish your brain. When you start putting good nutrients in the brain, the brain, the cravings start to go away because your body starts producing its normal levels of dopamine. And so how do we do that? Well, you cut out the bad foods, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. And then you eat good foods, which are fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. You don't have to do it all at once. People get a little freaked out and say, I could never do that. Had somebody call in one of my shows the other day, and his wife had real serious digestive issues, and she was like dying. They gave her 6 months to live. And I said, well, you got to take the stress off the liver. You got to cut out the wheat and the dairy products. He said, well, she's not going to do that. I said, I have nothing else to tell you. She's got 6 months to live. The liver is the fastest healing organ in the body. This is not hard. Okay, we can do this. You just have to stop poisoning the liver. She's not going to do it. Okay? Can't force you to do anything, but I can give you really good information that works really well in most cases. And if you don't do it, well, that's your call. But cutting out the bad foods and eating the good foods, you're going to get plenty of phenylalanine, which will become tyrosine. Tyrosine will become dopamine, and you should be fine. And again, studies show if you do these things, dopamine level goes up. Now, these studies are show that extremely high or extremely low levels of any amino acids, like phenylalanine or tyrosine, are not good. And so that's why too much protein, not a good idea. So eating, fine. It's not what you intake, it's not what you ingest, it's what you digest. And so what's happening is if you're ingesting good foods, but you're not able to break them down and absorb them, that becomes a problem. And so what do we do about that? We got to fix your digestive system. Every case I've ever seen, I've been doing this for 38 years, plus my training, in school and everything, so probably about over 40 years now. Getting pretty good at it. Every case I've ever seen where there's an emotional component, anxiety, depression, bipolar, ADD, depression, whatever it is, I said depression twice. Every case I've ever seen, there's always an undiagnosed or untreated digestive problem. And I'll look at people that come in with ADD and ADHD and anxiety and depression, and I'll say, you have acid reflux? Yeah. Burp a lot? Yeah. Gas and bloating? Yeah. Ticklish? Yeah. So I know the patient before I even see them just by looking at their symptoms. And the most common thing that goes wrong with the digestive system is your stomach, which is supposed to sit below your diaphragm, can push up into the diaphragm. And when that happens, you might have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating. So what we have to do in many cases is take the stomach and physically pull it back down away from the diaphragm. And when we do that, the stomach relaxes. It starts digesting food properly again. The stomach breaks proteins into amino acids. That's the stomach's job. Then the amino acids pass into the small intestine where they get absorbed. And things like phenylalanine and tyrosine can then combine with enzymes and B vitamins and create neurotransmitters, in this case, dopamine. Hope I didn't confuse you. But if you have a digestive problem, it's affecting your brain. That's the bottom line. So if you have acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, ticklishness, because you're protecting your digestive system. That's why I say ticklish, especially in your rib area. You're protecting your digestive system. Don't touch me. I'm not working already. Don't touch me. So ticklishness is a defense mechanism. What happens then is we got to fix the digestive system. We might give you digestive enzymes, supplements. I take digestive enzymes every time I eat a cooked meal. If I eat a raw meal, I don't worry about it. It has enzymes in it. But if I eat a cooked meal, I did a show the other day and I talked about it, and I had some gluten-free vegan pizza. It was spectacular and really enjoyed it. And I took digestive enzymes afterwards. Why? Because the enzymes were cooked out and I had to replace those enzymes. And then you sleep better and you don't get the burping and the gas and the diarrhea, and you don't have to get up in the middle of the night. And so it's much better and easier to take the digestive enzymes. They're real inexpensive. If I have a small meal, like that pizza was small, I just take one. If I have a big, heavy meal, like I'm eating a big Indian meal or something like that, everything's cooked, I'll throw in 2 digestive enzymes. Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which of course is a supplement everybody should be taking, has enzymes in it. When I created it, I had a patient come in the other day, and she was just in tears. And she said, you've changed my life so much. She goes, and chiropractic has done it, and the other supplement. She goes, but I think the Essential Source is the one that's changing everything. And I said, when I formulated it, I tried to make it, a one-stop shop. So the minimum supplements I think everybody should be taking are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. There's 3 types of Super Greens: plain, mint, and hemp. Somebody did just the Super Greens the other day and sent me an email, said, I don't like the taste. I said, mix it with the Essential Source, or do the mint, or do the hemp. But the plain, some people like it, but it's a little grassy, for lack of a better word. But all of them have the same nutritional value, essentially. But I just changed it because different strokes for different folks. Essential Source has over 72 ingredients, so it's one formula. We don't change that one, and everyone loves that one anyway. So those supplements are on our website, drjoe.com. You can order them right online, which I think you should, by the way. I don't know why you're not taking them. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. Or you can come by our offices. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb, and we would love to see you. Now, if you have digestive problems, supplements many times are not going to fix it. You may have to come see us. We want to check the nerve supply to the digestive system. That's where chiropractic and spinal adjustments come in. We want to check the stomach to make sure it's not pushed up against the diaphragm. Then we want to add the good nutrition to it. And now we have a healthcare plan. Most people have health insurance, but they don't have a healthcare plan. And I want to give you a plan. This is what I'm going to do today, tomorrow, the next day, rest of the year, rest of my life. And it works in most cases. If it didn't work, I'd be doing something else. I do all this research because I love sharing it with you, but I do it for myself. I want to know what it's going to take to live the longest, happiest, healthiest life I possibly can. So far, it's working really well. Most people think I'm 15 years younger than I am. I'm good with that. I like it. I ran some people the other day, like I said, my age people, and they looked horrible. I looked like skeletons. And one girl came up to me. She goes, you look younger now than you did 20 years ago when I knew you. What's your secret? I said, it's not a secret. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. I make sure my nervous system is working properly, make sure my digestive system is working properly, especially with today's topic of dopamine, and I make sure I'm eating the right foods and taking the right supplements. It's not hard, folks. It really isn't. So anyway, drjoe.com if you want to make an appointment. Normally, the first visit with us is $712. We've reduced that for our listeners to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment. The follow-up visit, going over your x-rays and all the findings and giving you a plan, and a nutrition evaluation. The x-rays alone cost more than $299 everywhere else. We're going to in most places. We're going to take care of that because if we do get you on a plan, then we accept insurances. We accept everybody with every insurance, no insurances. We have cash plans available, payment plans, 0 interest. We have it all laid out for you. It's very, very easy to be a patient in our office. That's Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb in the Atlanta area. If you're ever in a car accident, folks, I'm begging you, please come see us immediately. Even if you have no pain, let us check you out. If there's nothing wrong, I'll send you home. I have seen thousands, I venture to say tens of thousands of car accidents in my career. I've never seen anyone not hurt if the car was damaged. Well, doc, I don't have a lot of pain. Let me check it out. And then we do an objective evaluation, and you need to document it right away and you need to get treated right away. drjoe.com if you want to make an appointment. You can book it right online. So today we're talking about dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter in your brain that does a lot of things. Helps you focus, makes you happy. And dopamine many times is lacking. And that's when people start to see depression, anxiety, bipolar. Sometimes it's serotonin, sometimes it's dopamine, sometimes it's both. And we want to get in there and fix everything we can so that you're getting the nutrients to produce the neurotransmitters. And if there's something physically wrong, we want to fix that as well, so that your body has every chance it possibly can to start working. Parkinson's disease, they give you L-Dopa, synthetic or chemical dopamine to try to stop the shaking, because dopamine also suppresses other neurotransmitters. So if the dopamine is low, the other neurotransmitters kick in and it's not suppressed. You start acting out, so to speak, and that's where many times those tremors come in. And so we got to fix the digestive system. So if you have digestive problems, folks, just fix it now, because it's going to make your life a lot better now, but also in the future. So just come see us. It's not hard to do this. drjoe.com. If you have the acid reflux, you're not breaking proteins into amino acids properly, we want to fix that so you can. oftentimes that can affect intrinsic factor, which absorbs B12, which is a B vitamin that's necessary for a lot of things, including energy and brain function. So it's all interrelated. That's where I have trouble with orthodox medicine. If you have a heart condition, you go to cardiologist. You have a kidney condition, go to nephrologist. You have cancer, you go to oncologist. Yes, absolutely. Those are the experts in those fields, and I bow to them. Many of them are just geniuses. Some of them are jerks. Many of them are just geniuses. But you have to look at the whole body as well. You can't just treat the heart. Because my question is, why did the heart malfunction? Diet, stress, pinched nerves, trauma, infection. So if you're just treating the heart, you're not treating the diet and the digestive system and everything else. So that's where we like to come in and try to get the body as healthy as you can, and then we can co-manage your case with specialists if we need to. Many cases we don't need to. So drjoe.com. Fix that digestive system, folks. That's a biggie. Another thing that will lower your serotonin levels is eating too much saturated fat. Now, once again, I make a case for eating a plant-based diet. Animal research has found that saturated fats, those found in animal fat, butter, full-fat dairy, palm and coconut oil, which are also saturated fats, slightly different saturated fats, but I'll group them together for this argument, can disrupt dopamine signaling in the brain when consumed in large amounts. So far, these studies have been conducted on animals, but we feel the same results are going to be in human. One study found that rats consume 50% of their calories from saturated fats, which is what a lot of people are doing, had a reduction in dopamine signaling, making the brain work, in the reward areas of the brain compared with animals that received the same amount of calories from unsaturated fats. And the reward centers of the brain, the nucleus accumbens and other places like that, give you pleasure. And so we've got to make sure that those centers are not being clogged up. Now, the changes occurred even without differences in weight, body fat, hormone, sugar levels. It was strictly the saturated fats. So researchers hypothesized that these diets high in saturated fats can increase inflammation in the body, and that can affect the body's dopamine processes from working properly. It also clumps your red blood cells together. When you eat saturated fats, animal proteins, the red blood cells clump together. Now, red blood cells carry oxygen. And so if they're clumped together like a bunch of grapes, there's not enough oxygen being released from the red blood cells to get into the body. And that's why when you eat a saturated fat meal, you get tired. Eat some pizza, eat some steak, eat some cheese. What happens? You're tired. Eat the same amount of calories from, olives, nuts, seeds, that which are high in fat, you're not going to have the same reaction. So the saturated fat is so bad for your heart. Now we're finding out it's bad for your brain as well. So it's another case to eat the right foods. If you don't know what to eat, go to our website, drjoe.com. Type in the words 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. Listen to that show. That's a show we did on what not to eat. Then listen to the show called So What Can I Eat? 7 Deadly Sins of Nutrition. Listen to it first. So What Can I Eat? Listen to it second. That's Eating Habits 101. Really simple, really easy, really fun, really cheap. No downside to doing this except one. Those saturated fats and those animal products taste good. I haven't had any in about 35, 36 years. I still remember that they taste good. It's not worth it. That's my final statement. It's not for this section. We got a lot more to talk about. It's not worth it just because it's pleasurable. Now, folks, if you have a question, send it to me through the website, drjoe.com. If you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com, you can book it there. All the supplements, not just the ones we talked about, but all of them are on the website. But the website's a great source of information. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito and your podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad that you're there because we're teaching you a really important class today. We're teaching you how to get the brain and your body to be happier. And it has to do with chemicals. I think, what was the song? What's love got to do with it? It's nothing but a secondhand emotion. It's just chemistry. And you're right. Love it's a chemical reaction is what it is. And dopamine is one of those neurotransmitters that release when you're in love. Phenylethylamine is also released, another chemical in the brain. And so I remember I used to teach classes on the food romance connection and things like this. I guess I still do. And when you first meet somebody, you're in the dopamine stage. Dopamine is just being dumped and you're getting high from it. And baby, you don't care that their breath stinks and you don't care that they're unemployed and you don't care that they're used to date your brother or whatever it is, you're in love. The dopamine phase wears out and then you get into a chemical called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical in the brain that bonds you. It's the bonding neurotransmitter. And so a healthy relationship goes from dopamine into the oxytocin phase. If you don't, you're stuck in that dopamine phase. That's called serial monogamy. Okay, many times you fall in love with somebody, you're crazy, head over heels, and 6 months later you're like, meh, I'm going to move on. And that's serial monogamy. Those are people that have dopamine issues that they can't switch from dopamine to oxytocin. So, it's just a chemical reaction, like the song said. So dopamine's great. We love being in that dopamine phase. We all love that feeling of new love, new excitement, new job, and that will wear off in most cases. But we can keep the brain healthy so that it utilizes dopamine more efficiently and produces dopamine more efficiently. So went down a rabbit hole on that one. So we've got to get the brain working the best we can with dopamine. It's one of the neurotransmitters in the brain, and it's the one that causes pleasure. So I thought I'd do this one. Maybe I'll do serotonin or another one another time because I'm crazy like that. So other things we can do. We talked earlier, if you're just tuning in, we talked earlier about making sure your digestive system is able to break proteins down into amino acids. The amino acid tyrosine becomes dopamine. So if you're not digesting your food properly, if you're not getting the proper absorption of amino acids or the proper intake of protein and amino acids, you're not going to be able to produce the neurotransmitters. Too much is not better. Too much is actually worse. So you got to hit that Goldilocks zone. We're just right. We talked about saturated fats, animal fats affect dopamine utilization. So if you're eating a lot of animal proteins and animal fats, that can cause your brain not to utilize dopamine properly, and you're not going to be as happy as you should be, and many times depressed. I cannot tell you how many patients over the years, either in our offices or just through podcasts and radio shows and lectures and books I've written, where they cut out their animal products and they say, Dr. Joe, you saved my life. I was so depressed. I was thinking about suicide. I was thinking about hurting myself. I was thinking about hurting my family, my friends, my animals. And since I've gotten on a plant-based diet, I'm so much clearer thought, so much happier. Thank you. Well, this is the reasons why. Probiotics help. Recent years, scientists have discovered that the gut and the brain are closely linked. Well, I've been telling you this for 40 years now. The gut and the brain, because what happens is when you're first formed, when mommy and daddy get together way back 9 months before you were born, and the sperm and the egg come together and they divide and they divide again, the first thing to form is the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain and the spinal cord form, and then it sends little branches of nerves out, and on the end of each nerve forms an organ, or an arm or leg or a muscle, whatever it is. But the same nerves that form the brain form the gut, the digestive system, and it happens along something called the vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S. So the vagus nerve sends messages back and forth to the brain, and the brain, same thing to the gut. And the gut has its own nervous system. There's the central nervous system. There's the peripheral nervous system, which is the nerves outside the spine. And then there's the enteric nervous system. The enteric nervous system is the digestive system's own system, and it's linked to the other ones by nerves, and one of the big nerves is called the vagus nerve. So I know it's a lot of neurology and don't want to bore you there, but the nerve cells are signaling neurotransmitters, and like we talk about serotonin, which is another neurotransmitter that helps you focus. 95% of the serotonin in your body is not used in your brain, it's used in your gut. So if you're not breaking down proteins into amino acids properly, not only you may not be producing enough dopamine, you're probably not getting enough serotonin either, because the gut's gobbling up whatever serotonin your body has. And so that's where you see things like ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression. And so if we fix the gut, many times we fix the brain because we're breaking proteins into amino acids to produce the neurotransmitters. Don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but I want to make sure you get this because this is advanced neurology. This is stuff a lot of neurosurgeons don't even know. So we got to get the gut working to get the brain working. Now, there are certain species of bacteria that live in your gut that are capable of producing dopamine, then that can in fact impact mood and behavior. So you want to produce it. It can be produced in the brain, can be produced in the gut. Research is a little limited, but several studies have shown that when consumed in large quantities, certain strains of bacteria can reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in both animals and humans. So whenever somebody comes in our offices and they have an emotional condition, we always look at the gut. Then we look at their diet, and we look at the nerve supply coming from the spine going to the organs. This is not hard, folks. It may be hard the first time you heard it. It was hard for me the first time I heard it. But after 40 years of researching this, to me, it's second nature. Like I said, I was at a bar the other night, and I'm talking about neurotransmitters and methylcobalamin versus cyanocobalamin. And this one gal is sitting there. She didn't know who I was. And she's just looking at me going, where did you come from? How do you know all this stuff? And I said, I've been doing this for a while. So it's really neat information. And that's why you guys I love sharing it with you, because I want you to utilize this the best you can. So the bacteria in the gut are going to affect your moods. It's going to affect dopamine levels. There's a clear link between mood, probiotics, gut health. We're still figuring out the mechanism behind it, but it's pretty clear. So that's why I always take supplements every day. I want to make sure I'm getting all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, probiotics, phytonutrients that I can to give my body the best chance it can to function at the highest level that it can. So I believe the minimum supplements everybody should be taking: Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. I take a scoop of each. I mix it together, coconut milk, almond milk. This morning I had a half a frozen banana. I whipped it up with the frozen banana. I think I used almond milk this morning only because it was on sale. Again, it's just the almond milk, the coconut milk isn't really a nutritional component. It's just a conduit to kind of mix everything up else in. You can use water if you want to. Don't use cow's milk, of course. I'm not a fan. And I can't imagine starting my day without Super Greens Essential Source. I take omega-3 fatty acids for brain function. I take probiotics for gut function. I take vitamin D, which is extremely important for so many different things. I take adrenal support. I take men's hormone support to make sure my body is able to produce the right amounts of testosterone, estrogen, pregnenolone. So I've put together a protocol specifically for me. I filled out the same survey I have all my patients fill out. I did an analysis, had a computer do an algorithm for me, and I said, yeah, this is what I need. And I experiment with other ones. Dr. Kat Walter, one of my doctors, her and I were like little petri dishes of experimenting. She'll say, have you tried choline? What about this? What about that? And we just sit around and have these, just these brain exploding conversations. And all my doctors are trained by me. And that's the nice part. And if for some reason they don't know an answer, we have 4 or 5 other doctors to turn to in the practices to say, okay, what do I do? What would you recommend for this? And it's really great having a practice like this, because you're not just going to one doctor, you're going to 6 of us. And we have the resources among us. It's very rare we can't come up with a solution or an answer. Very, very rare that happens, but it does happen sometimes. So we got a Super Greens and Essential Source and probiotics. I take every day as part of my protocol. I take digestive enzymes if I eat a cooked meal. I think you should too. I eat a lot of raw foods. I probably eat at least 50% of my diet raw, and most days. Some days it's not as perfect. But the thing is, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything I say. Start. Do something and say, wow, that worked great. Dr. Joe, I'm taking Super Greens and Essential Source every day. In a week, I'm seeing such a change in my life. Many people report they even eat less food. I hear about once a month somebody says they think it's unique. They think it's special. I've never heard it before. Dr. Joe, I can't afford not to take supplements. And I always play stupid and go, what do you mean? And they say, I'm eating so much less food. I'm eating so much less junk food. I'm drinking almost no coffee or no coffee. I'm saving so much money by not wasting my money on bad foods and junk foods. And the good foods are so much cheaper than the bad foods. And the supplements are getting me there. I can't imagine not taking it. I don't want to waste any more money. I said, good. I don't care what your motivation is. What did Leah Adams say? I don't care how you get here. Just get here. And so the probiotics are key. Most of us are killing off the good bacteria in our colon every day. If you eat commercial animal products, chances are they have antibiotics injected in them or steroids that can weaken the immune system and kill off the bacteria. Chlorinated water can kill off the bacteria in your colon. You put chlorine in your hot tub to what? Kill off bacteria. So if you're drinking chlorinated water, you're swimming in chlorinated pools, it's going to affect the bacteria in your colon. The longer you do it, the more damage there is. Fluorine. You get that in toothpaste, right? And sometimes in water. Fluorine can kill off good bacteria as well. It's an antibacterial. And so fluorine, chlorine, bromine can affect the thyroid. And so once again, I know it sounds like I'm just rattling stuff off, but it's not hard. The bottom line is don't eat the bad stuff, eat the good stuff. And the nervous system ties it all together. Your nervous system controls everything. So right now, your brain is sending messages down your spine, out your nerves to every part of the body. The digestive system, your liver, your spleen, your prostate, your sex organs, your earlobes. Everything is hardwired to the brain. And if you have pinched nerves, that can affect the flow from the brain to the body. So how do you know you have a pinched nerve? Well, number one, there's pain. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, sciatica, you've got a pinched nerve. It's real simple. Come see us. Let us try to unpinch those nerves and get the body functioning the best it can. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. We would love to help get you well and keep you well. So if you have pain, you have a pinched nerve, but here's the hook. 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. You can have a pinched nerve and not know it. So for example, you don't feel your blood pressure. You don't feel your spleen. You don't feel your kidneys, your adrenal glands. So my doctors are trained to test the nerves that feel pain, but we can also test the nerves that don't feel pain. Because if we take you on as a patient, we don't want to get you out of pain. We want to get you well. And this is a very unique is redundant. This is a unique way of looking at healthcare. Getting you well, not just waiting till symptoms appear and then dealing with it. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com, or you can book it right online or call us. The phone numbers are all over the website. And we accept people with all insurances. It depends on your policy. We accept you. It depends if your policy accepts us. Medicare, Ambetter. I mean, the countless policies we're in. But we'd love to be your doctors. And if you don't have insurance, that's fine too. Chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain, and certainly in our clinic, it's for wellness. And so we have payment plans available, cash plans. It's really, really easy to be a patient with us. So drjoe.com. Don't wait any longer. Book the appointment now. Stop suffering. What's going to be different in a week or two or a month or a year if you don't get yourself well? It's only going to get worse. So drjoe.com, we'd love to see you. If you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, come see us right away. I've always found if the car's damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. So please come see us, drjoe.com. And sometimes I have to beg the people to come in, and when they do, they're like, Dr. Joe, why didn't I do this sooner? How stupid was I not to get this taken care of? Why would you want to live in pain? Why would you want to live less than 100%? I don't know. drjoe.com. Supplements, again, we said Super Greens, an essential source. Minimum supplements everybody should be taking. And there's others as well, but that's the starting point. But I think there's others too. There's also food. Let's talk about food now for dopamine. There's something called velvet beans. And they're naturally high in L-dopa, which is the precursor to dopamine. Precursor means the building blocks for dopamine. Studies show people eating these beans help raise dopamine levels naturally, especially in people with Parkinson's disease. Why isn't every doctor saying eat velvet beans? I don't know. 1992 study, a while ago, still stands up. People with Parkinson's disease found that consuming 250 grams of cooked velvet beans significantly raised dopamine levels and reduced Parkinson's disease symptoms 1 to 2 hours after a meal. Come on, folks. Food is medicine. It's really cool. Several studies on the bean found that they are even more effective and longer lasting than traditional Parkinson's disease medications and may have fewer side effects. Velvet beans, folks. Take them, eat them, especially if you know somebody with Parkinson's, please. And then you got to fix their digestive system so they can break it down and absorb the nutrients as well. But this is a real simple thing. Now, velvet beans are toxic in high amounts. So make sure you don't eat eat 1 serving, 2 servings a couple of times a week. You don't have to overdo it. More is not better. Fava beans, right? What was that from? Silence of the Lambs? Fava beans and a Chianti. Fava beans are a good source of L-dopa as well. For people with dopamine deficiency diseases such as Parkinson's, eating natural foods that are high in L-dopa like fava beans or velvet beans can help restore dopamine levels. And dopamine is also good to what? Give you pleasure, make you feel good, make you focus. So even though these foods are a natural source of L-DOPA, it's important that you try to be able to absorb the nutrients. You live a lifestyle. This isn't going to solve your problem. This is part of a plan, not the plan. Exercise increases your dopamine levels. By the way, romance does too. And so kudos for romance. Romance will give you that dopamine rush as well. So including romance into your lifestyle is, I'm trying to keep it clean here, is also a very good thing if you can. It's highly recommended. Exercise can induce endorphin levels, and that can improve moods. Improvements in mood are seen in as little as 10 minutes after aerobic activity, and the highest after 20 minutes. So take advantage of everything you can to keep your body in motion. I had to get my tires realigned on my car, and I went to Sam's Club, and I dropped it off 8 o'clock in the morning. The guy said it'll be about a half hour. What a great opportunity to work out. Now, I didn't hit the gym. I wasn't on the floor doing push-ups. I just walked around the store at a fast pace, and I did it for 20 minutes, 30, 25 minutes, and then my car was done. What a great opportunity. If you live close to a grocery store, walk there. If you have a garden, go work out in the garden. Pull some weeds. Even if you don't need to, go out there and do it. Get out and walk. Get out, keep the body moving. Swim. I talk about something called the cross crawl, and I do this every day. It's a real simple exercise. It takes 30 seconds an hour. 30 seconds, folks. You can do this. And what you do is you stand up, and you take your right elbow, and you bring it to your left knee, and lift your left knee. Then you bring your left elbow, bring it to your right knee, and lift it. So you're marching in place. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Do it 30 times. Do it 50 times. It doesn't have to be exactly 30 seconds. But if you do 50 cross crawls every hour, you will be amazed how much better you feel. How the brain is now integrated. It's working left and right side of the brain. And it's an amazing, simple, quick, free exercise. If you're in a wheelchair, just try to lift your leg the best you can. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. If you can't, if you're paralyzed from the waist down, just bring your right elbow to your left leg, your left elbow to your right leg. I've done this with babies. You get two people. One grabs right arm and left leg. The other grabs left arm and right leg. And you force the cross crawl laying on their back. Amazing results. It's quick. It's easy. It's free. It reboots the brain. Gives you energy. No reason why you shouldn't be doing these things, folks. And exercises, even as simple as that, can help boost those dopamine levels. And you don't have to hit the gym for an hour or two. Little things like this work so well when it comes to getting the brain working. Sleep is another way to increase your dopamine levels. If you have sleep issues, go to our website, drjoe.com, and type the word sleep in the search bar. Listen to the show we did on sleep. We talk about the mechanics of sleep, how to do it, how to set up your room, the temperature that works best. What happens if you wake up and pee all night? All these questions are answered on that show, drjoe.com. Just look at it for sleep. And on the website, by the way, great source of information. Type in what you're looking for, and chances are we've done a podcast, an article, a show, a letter I've written, whatever. Great source of information. If you still have questions, you could send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. A little bot pops up, and you can answer it. Somebody yesterday sent me a question. They put in the wrong email address. So I had to go and look and try to figure it out, and I did. They put in like .con instead of .com. But if you don't get a response from me, it's usually because something was wrong on your end. So make sure you try to do that as quickly as you can to send me questions or listen to the shows you want. Great source of information. And if you're a podcast junkie, go to your podcast service and type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. Hundreds of hours on your podcast service waiting for you right now. This is going to be one of those podcasts. If you go to our website, we have over 3,000 hours of podcasts, including video. So if you're a video learner, and you can go to our website, type in what you're looking for. We have it's labeled audio, video. It's real easy to figure out. I need you to do me a favor. I want you to follow us on social media. Handle is at Dr. Joe Esposito. Real simple, real easy, at Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every day. So it's shows like this. We chop them up sometimes, one or two little questions, one or two little segments. Sometimes it's a new tip. Sometimes it's a recipe. Sometimes it's something silly. But it's free. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be following us at Dr. Joe Esposito. It's part of your healthcare plan. Not your insurance plan, your healthcare plan. And those tips many times change people's lives every day. Gosh, that's exactly what I was needing today. Thank you, Dr. Joe. So social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. Most important thing you can do is make an appointment to come see us. We want to analyze your nervous system. We want to analyze your digestive system. We want to look at your diet, talk about supplements if necessary, what to eat, what not to eat. I had a guy come in the other day, young kid, 17 years old. His mother sent him, didn't know who we were. An athlete, really strong, good-looking kid. Went through the whole process. I tested the nerves that don't feel pain. I explained everything to him. It took 5-10 minutes. He sat down. He looked at me. I said, "You okay?" And he's staring at me like this glazed look in his eye. And I said, "What's wrong?" He says, "I'm blown away. I never expected anything like this. This is amazing." And then he started asking me about going to chiropractic college. It's 5 minutes of this kid's life. We might have changed his life, might have changed the world's life. So it's amazing information, and I'm just baffled why people don't come in and see us sooner. Because when they do come in, they say the same thing like this kid did. Why didn't I do this sooner? Stop suffering needlessly. drjoe.com. Book your appointments. Again, we accept people with all insurances. We have to check your policy, what it covers. No insurances, car accidents, sports injuries, workers' comp. We want to be your doctors. And I love when people say, this is way more than I expected. I expect to get my neck cracked. Oh, no. We got to do everything along with that to get your neck adjusted. So drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $712. We've reduced that to $299 for our listeners. There's no excuse why you shouldn't be booking an appointment. The supplements, of course, the minimum, Super Greens, an essential source. We talked about digestive enzymes, vitamin D, all on the website, drjoe.com. Just look at everything on our store page. Decide what you think is going to be best for you. The nice part is supplements, in most cases, as long as you follow directions, are very benign. You know, what's the Hippocratic Oath? Above all, do no harm. And that's what we try to do. We try to get you as well as we can with as few side effects as possible. And chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. I don't know what else to tell you. Other things that can help increase dopamine is music. 2011 study, small study, investigating the effects of music on dopamine found a 9% increase in dopamine levels when people listened to instrumental songs that gave them the chills. Somewhere in Time is my favorite instrumental, the soundtrack from Somewhere in Time, the movie. But find music that you like and listen to it. And that can help dopamine levels as well. Meditation, of course, is good for so many different things. I'm trained in meditation, Transcendental Med, TM. I trained TM in college, so it's a good idea to do that. Sunlight is really important. Sunlight does so many different things. Vitamin D, dopamine release, neurotransmitters. It just so much pleasure comes out of being in the sunlight. Maximum about 20 minutes a day is what you're looking for. And that's between like 1 and 2 or 3 is the peak time. Don't get too much sun. Of course, it'll burn you. You can listen to the show we did on sunscreen, and it'll talk about how to use that. And then, of course, supplements, Super Greens, essential source, digestive enzymes. We can do something called a micronutrient test, which we can test what levels you have. We can do hair analysis to see if you have any heavy metal toxicity. So we have a lot of tests. They're all on the website, drjoe.com. Hey, folks, do me a favor again. Follow me on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. Tell your friends about the show. Website is there for you 24 hours a day, drjoe.com.